Hey, it's Alex Ratcliffe from Board Game Co., and this is To Back or Not to Back, the weekly Monday show about all the Kickstarters and stuff. And I think it actually will be a shorter show than normal. This is the part where you can look at the length of time, because I don't know how long it's going to be, but you can say, oh, look, 52 minutes, Alex lied again, because short isn't really short here. But if I had to guess, I would say probably in the 35 to 40 minute range. We only have a handful of games to cover, to the point, by the way, that next week, I'm 99% sure there's not going to be a to back or not to back next week, which means obviously I'll have another show in its place, but that means no to back or not to back, no Patreon exclusive version of it, and I will have some other Kickstarter something in its place, I assume, unless of course there are a bunch of campaigns I missed. But looking at my upcoming stuff, next week seems fairly light. The week after that, on the other hand, that's when we'll have a bunch of things again. Now, I will start off with about 3 to 4 minutes of announcements and other things, different things I want to talk about, so timestamps down below in case you want to skip directly to the Kickstarter projects. And to start off with, I want to, well, plug this shirt. Or if you look over here, I'll point the camera, this shirt over here, Coffee, Beans, and Board Games. I saw Jamie Stegmaier wearing this in a live video he's doing, and I was in love with that shirt right away. In fact, I can show it to you on my screen as well. So if I go over here, you can see this over here. This is going to be from Meeple's Crossing. It's a $30 shirt. They have a bunch of other stuff. For me personally, this was the only thing that I really wanted from them. I am not getting any promotion or anything from this. I don't get any commission or anything like that. It's just a shirt that I like. If you've watched my show at all, you know that I like coffee and that, well, I like wearing clothes and I like coffee. The two of them combine very nicely in this shirt. I don't know. Anyways, so moving on from there. I have a few different plugs I want to make. One is Going Analog. Going Analog is a YouTube channel that you absolutely should subscribe to. It's a shame I haven't had the opportunity to mention them yet. I think I haven't. I could be wrong. I may have plugged them once or twice in the past. They have a quiz show. They have a few things. They have a podcast, which you can listen to. It's a good podcast, solid podcast. I enjoy listening to it. But while I will recommend the podcast, the thing I absolutely recommend, 10 times above the podcast, not that the podcast is bad, I've been on the podcast, I like the podcast, but what I really genuinely completely recommend, it is worth your time, I'll throw a link down below, is their quiz show. Basically, every 2 weeks, something like that. I think it's every other week they put out a video, so it's not going to take up your feed. It's not going to be like those annoying people who put out a video every single day and sometimes 3 videos a day. Nothing like that. None of that garbage. It's going to be one video every single 2 weeks, I think. I could be wrong. In which they basically do a quiz show where you can follow along with various famous people board game famous, Paula Deming, Scott Alden, Sarah Shaw, James Hudson, variety of different people. The most recent guest was Suzanne from the Dice Tower. They have a whole bunch of guests on the show where they do a quiz show. It is by far, no hyperbole aside, whatever it is by far the best quiz show that I have seen regarding board games at all, and you will want to play along with it. You can score out of 20 points, and you, as the viewer, can play along as you go and track your points and see how well you did. See how well you do against all these various personas in gaming. I believe Suzanne had the highest score I've ever seen, a 17 out of 20, and right about now, there should be a good 172 of you that are 17 out of 20. I can beat that. Head on over. Try. Let's see how it goes. By the way, I will be on the show at some point, so my plug is not an attempt to get on the show, but I like this. You should subscribe to it. It won't clog up your feed. Absolutely amazing. Highly recommend that. Secondly, Tabletop Game Talk. Tabletop Game Talk is a podcast that I just recently on. They basically a long time ago, 6 months ago, something like that, they actually did a segment on one of my videos on the top 10 worst value games where they're basically criticizing that video. It was enjoyable. I listened to it a long time ago. But past that, they basically have a fast forward 6 months. They've watched more of my videos, and I'm not just a troll. I am a troll, but not just a troll. And so they invited me on the show to talk. And so we went and talked about stuff like Kickstarters and value and other aspects of the hobby in general. I'll throw a link to that down below as well. You can check that out, or you can listen to that. It won't even take up your screen space or any of that. And I think that is everything, which means we can now move on, finally. What are we, 4 minutes into the video? That's not the worst. We can now finally move into starting off the week with a bunch of Kickstarters. Now, I will be going through these in an order that is slightly different than usual. Usually I order these with a whole bunch of funding, not funding, updates, and then within each category I order them based on how many days are left. You may have never noticed that before. There's going to be a whole bunch of you that are like, oh, that's the order? I never realized. I just thought he goes through them randomly. Whatever, it doesn't change my life, which is fair. Doesn't change my life either. But this week, for whatever particular reason, maybe because there's so few of them, I decided to order it based on an imaginary order of my choosing, which I'm going to go through a bunch of them. All of them are funding, thankfully, so you can check them out. And starting off the bat, we have Monstrosity. So, Monstrosity. I want to, because I'm used to rolling rights, I want to kind of say Monstrosity. Is that a game? If that's not a game, that should be a game. Monstrosity. That should be a thing. But past that, Monstrosity is going to be a card game where you basically build out a monster. You're going to have a goal of how you have to build your monster to win, and then past that, you're collecting various body parts, various cards, various different things to build out your monster. It's going to be gaming light, one of these, card games out there that have gaming aspects to it, but very much on the lighter side. Overall, it's just about, getting those body parts, accomplishing objectives, getting in others' ways, playing cards to help yourself or to hurt others. Your classic card game that you see on Kickstarter. Not necessarily a bad thing, but, not standing out from the crowd past the cute little theme and artwork and all of that. The game is going to run you $20 for the base game with all unlocked stretch goals, or $40 for the deluxe game, which is going to give you a bunch of playmats, 5 playmats, along with everything else you're getting there. So $20 versus $40. The price of it is going to fall into the category of, it's not a great back, it's nothing personal, it's just the normal thing when you have these cheaper card games. I believe the price point, if I'm not mistaken, was $25. Let me see if I can find it here. Yeah, I believe it's a $25 game, so it's, there are $20 game is you save $5 off the price. A $20 game plus the shipping involved, sorry, a $25 game versus, I'm saying this wrong. If you pay $20 plus shipping, you're going to be paying more than the $25 price or whatever it is. If this does show up in retail or anything else, then you will be paying more in the Kickstarter for it than it would cost otherwise. That said, you do get some stretch goals along the way, so you can factor that into the decision, meaning you can get the game cheaper, but there's going to be stretch goals here as well. Past that, the real question you want to ask yourself as usual with these smaller projects is, with only 300 backers, it may not make its way to retail. So it falls in the category of not a game that you're going to see your money back on, but maybe the best opportunity to get your hands on this game, just given the limited availability of how the Kickstarter is doing. Moving on, we have Micro Dojo. Micro Dojo is going to be a micro game, a small game that, the whole game is going to cost you, I think, roughly $10, including shipping. If you're US based, that can vary. US is actually not the cheapest shipping this time around, but effectively it's going to be a micro game, as you might imagine with the name Micro Dojo. 765 backers, $10,000 raised, 17 days to go. Very happy for them. 100% funded in 13 minutes, which is awesome. I was shocked that this funded so fast. Projects like this tend to not do as well. Unless you have a lot of community outreach. And by the way, they did it right. They had a lot of community outreach. They reached out to a lot of people. They have a lot of videos over the game. They reached out to myself as well. Unfortunately, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on the perspective, I am backlogged on the number of views I am able to cover. And so I passed on this one for right now. But I'm happy that they're funding. Overall, Micro Dojo is, let me explain the game. So let's see if we can find a picture of the game, and we'll talk about the price point. The general version of the game is you're going to be controlling, I see if I could find, they have a great video on it. They have a 3-minute video you can watch, which I can't find over here, but let's go back to just some screenshot over here. So you're going to have different characters on the board that you're going to be moving around in order to gain resources and take abilities as you go. Along the way, there's going to be different scoring objectives, so it's going to be measuring who has the most coins, who has the most this, different actions you can take, and the characters in the middle are not belonging to any one character. You activate the character and move it to an adjacent spot to get the benefit. So it's got this little tactical puzzle going on in this head-to-head game. We try to figure out how to outmaneuver the board state to get the objectives, get the resources you want, get the actions you want, and score for the objectives at the right time when you are ultimately primed to win them. A small, clever game with, tactics and whatnot in a tiny package, which brings us to the price point. Price point is going to be £5 or roughly $8 for a copy of the game, plus around £2 shipping if you're in the US, so it will range, which means you're looking at $10 to $11 for this game. All things considered, that is a fairly cheap price, but here's the but part. The but part is this is a micro game, which means when you compare it to things available, an $11 price tag on a Kickstarter seems amazing, and it is. It really genuinely is. It's very hard for people to offer that kind of price tag on a Kickstarter game. The most recent exception is going to be that $2 game we saw from the card game, or whatever it was, but that's a rare exception. Most of the time, it is very hard for people to do this. The flip side is if you're comparing it to, the equivalent thing on the aftermarket, on the main market, you're gonna be looking at games like Love Letter that will typically run you like $7, including shipping if you buy it in an online store, this, that, whatever else. So I think the game is priced well. I think it's priced very well, considering, they're pricing it incredibly well. You should jump in on this if you want it. In terms of holding its value, again, smaller game, unlikely to hold this value if you're trying to sell it down the road, plus dealing with shipping. All that said, it's an $11 game. So, there's only so much financial nitpickiness I can do over an $11 purchase. If you've been recently following the ISS Vanguard Pledge Manager, which I just did a video on what's it called, then by the way, speaking of which, let me finish this and we'll talk to that. But yeah, ISS Vanguard just did a Pledge Manager update. You're going to be spending $500, potentially up to $1,000 if you're crazy enough, to get all the stuff there. An $11 purchase only has so much weight on the nitpickiness of $3 or $4. Now, the thing I forgot, not really a big deal, but in case you're wondering why I'm so absent in the comments today, because I will be absent in the comments today, today is another Jewish holiday. It's going to be the holiday of Shavuot, which is going to be on Monday, today, and Tuesday. So I'm completely offline today and tomorrow, which means no comment responding for me today. I will see you all on Wednesday or possibly Tuesday night when I log in and start catching up on the comments, but usually when these things happen, I do fall further behind, so if you comment and I ignore you, it's not you, it's me, genuinely so. Moving on from there, we have Railways of Sweden, Australia, and Rail Barons of the World. This is going to be one of 2 games today that includes David Turczi as a designer. He's having a action jam-packed month with Railways of the World, with Vengeance Roll and Fight, and then finally with Prison Architect. He's got a jam-packed month this month with the various games he's involved in. But beside from that, Railways of Sweden, Railways of Australia, and Rail Barons of the World are going to be 3 expansions or add-ons to Railways of the World. Railways of the World, designed by Martin Wallace and somebody else whose name I don't remember offhand. Personally, I don't have Railways of the World. I have Steam. Those 2 games do have a lot of overlap and similarities, but they are different. I played Railways of the World a long time ago, and I don't remember much about it, but I remember that it felt very similar to Steam, and I still own Steam. I don't own Railways. Don't read into that. It really was a very long time ago. But that aside, Railways of the World is going to be a pick up and deliver game where you start with basically nothing and upgrade and improve your monopoly, your train empire, as you try to figure out the best way to move cubes around the board. Rail Barons of the World is going to provide a few different add-ons or expansions or modules, including a solo mode from David Turczi, and Railways of Australia and Railways of Sweden are providing new maps, potentially with extra stuff added to them. I'm not familiar if they're bringing new gameplay mechanics to the game. In general, Railways of the World has a system, like Ticket to Ride, like many of these other things, not to compare it to Ticket to Ride, where you'll have a bunch of other maps or modules, all of which provide small different adjustments to the core gameplay system that is here. As far as the games, that's going to be the 3 things on the table here. As far as price points or whatnot, first of all, anyone who backs this campaign at $29 or more for this campaign is going to get with them, they're going to get this extra stretch goal type thing, not really stretch goal, extra Kickstarter or whatever, for the Ice Locomotives, Ice Mini Expansion, and Ice Scoring Disc. So effectively, you can have an alternate player color whose player color is ice or see-through or whatever it is you want to call it. So that's going to be an extra there if you spend at least $29 on the campaign. Past that, the pledge levels are going to be $14 for the Rail Barons of the World expansion. This is going to be discounted from an MSRP of $20, which means $14 versus $20 is roughly the price you would pay online, but of course shipping costs are going to be present here as well. Next up, you have Railways of Sweden, $29 off of a $40 MSRP. That is, again, roughly the price you'd pay online. $40 MSRP can range between $28 to $30 online, typically speaking. So it's on the low end, but still, once you factor in shipping, not the best. And then from there, we have Railways of Australia. Railways of Australia is going to be a $45 MSRP. This is by far the best discount, $32 from $45. But again, once you factor in shipping. So once you go, and then lastly we have second lastly, we have the Transcontinental Map for the playmat for $59. And then we have the Everything New for $72. That does not include the mat, just to be very clear over there. The $72 is going to be a discounted down from $105 MSRP, which is a decent savings. That is, even once you factor in shipping on this one, meaning once you get the bundle, even once you factor in shipping, it's still going to be cheaper than, getting it online later. So this would be the best pledge as far as maintaining that value. But don't forget, every single one of the pledge levels I mentioned also comes with that ice extra, which can provide whatever value you want to assign to that, maybe $5, $10, whatever it is. Maybe you want to assign more. I don't know what you want to assign to that one. Which means overall, this is actually one of the better Eagle Griffin's Kickstarters. They tend to vary in terms of their Kickstarters. They have the giant Lacerda games that do tremendously well and hold their value because people want all the extras. And then they have those other games that usually show up from time to time and aren't really the best back. This one falls very much in the middle there. It is not as good a back as some of the Lacerda games, but it is a much better back than their smaller, fair Kickstarters. This one has 900 backers, something like that. So overall, if you're interested in it, not the worst price, but it does depend on what you're interested in. And also, if you're just getting Rail Barons of the World, it's only $14 plus shipping, but you also don't get the ice extras, and you could get it for that price later online without paying shipping. So yeah, overall falls mid-range to slightly better than mid-range, depending on how much you value those ice sculptures, and of course, getting it early and all of that. Which brings us to Vengeance Roll and Fight. Vengeance Roll and Fight by Mighty Boards, the second game that David Turczi is involved with. And this one is doing fairly well. 749 backers, $44,000 raised, 16 days to go. This is a updated is the wrong word. Has similarities to its big brother Vengeance, a game that already exists, 7.2 on Board Game Geek, decent game, and this is providing a lighter set of rules and more accessibility in terms of the game itself. It's a roll and fight game. You roll dice to basically lock in your extras, your bonuses, the things you can use, and then you just go charging through a room to take out the enemies and the bad guys using your abilities, using your dice along the way to wreak carnage. I think that's probably the way to say it, to wreak carnage. That sounds right. I could be wrong. But anyways, it's going to be a lighter rule set, but based on the feedback we're getting so far from people who've played this game, from Not Board Gaming, from So Very Wrong About Games, from a dozen, if you go through all these little cards here, left, right, and center throughout the Kickstarter, provide testimonials from people that are solid feedback, and it seems to be an improved iteration of the original Vengeance. So if you are someone, like myself, who wrote off the original Vengeance, says, hey, 7.2, no problem with that, there's a lot of games out there, and you gotta pick and choose where to spend our time, well, this one might be more worthwhile, I haven't played it myself, I can't tell you that, but based on the feedback, it seems like it might be a more worthwhile avenue as far as where to spend your time, money, attention, all of that. As far as the game, like I said, it's a how to play roll and fight. First, you're going to prepare by, you're going to upgrade yourself into a relentless combo bursting killing machine in the preparation phase. So the preparation phase is where you basically use the roll and write part of things. And then you're going to start rolling and you're going to roll your hand dice to form sequences to trigger your abilities before others in the rolling phase. And then you're going to fight. You're going to activate your abilities by spending your dice and your abilities as you plow through this den of whatever, taking people out along the way. They're going to come with multiple maps. It also comes with, there's roll and fight episode 1 and roll and fight episode 2. I believe both of them come with multiple maps. Here we go, Not Board Gaming. This is so much fun, fast, frenetic dice rolling, dice placing, bad guy fighting fun. And again, that's going to be left, right, and center. You're going to see that. Now, past that, pledge levels. Pledge levels are going to be $29 for the Vigilante pledge level and $55 for the Killing Machine pledge level. These are going to be down from, I believe it's $40. I believe the MSRP was $40. It might have been less than that. Let me see. I saw it somewhere. I recall seeing the MSRP somewhere. I could be mistaken. I think it was $40 if I'm not mistaken. So $40 MSRP, $29 price point, which means effectively similar to what we saw a second ago on Railways of the World. That falls into the normal range of what you can get it for, what you get it for at retail. But you have to pay shipping, but you get the Kickstarter exclusive promo pack. So that's going to be the counter here. So overall, and let's go through that. So we have $29 for that. We have $55 for Killing Machine, which gives you episode 1 and episode 2. You cannot get episode 2 on its own. They quote logistics reasons. I air quoted that, but it's reasonable to a degree. Basically, there's a regular thing in terms of Kickstarters where the fewer options you give people, the less you have to spend in terms of having people pick and pack multiple things. Why do they choose to make episode 1 available and not episode 2 on its own? I don't have any firm reasons. To cut down the possible variety of options of what people can choose, maybe. Logistics reasons is a legitimate answer. Also one that is a little bit, they choose, they are the ones who ultimately make the decisions as to how to prioritize what they can or can't do, what they are willing to do. That said, logistics reasons is not a complete fallback of an excuse. There are legitimate costs to the more varieties of options you give people. And over here, yeah, I believe it was. Okay, so we see, so I'm just seeing on the screen over here, I believe each game came with 4 different maps in terms of how you can go through the game, 4 different boards of how you can experience it. Slicker Drips, Vengeance Roll takes the look and feel of the original game, but puts it in a much faster, more frantic package. And then you can also get miniatures over here. Well, before that, this is the original base game. You can get for $50, a 48% discount on MSRP. You can find the base game online, depending if you're looking for used or new. Even new, you can find it for around $80. So it definitely is a discount, don't get me wrong, but not, down from $95, but still a reasonable discount if you want the original base game. Then additionally, you have over here the stretch goals, the roll and fight stretch goals. Now, this is part where maybe one of you can confirm this for me. I didn't see this 100% confirmed. It was strongly implied that everything you're seeing in the stretch goal section is going into the Kickstarter fan pack, the extra Kickstarter fan pack. So if you scroll down further, we'll come back to that in a second. You'll see over here we have the roll and write, we have the includes the Overkill promo pack, and then over here we have the Overkill promo pack, which shows the dice tray and it shows the various things over here. And if you look through the updates, it implies that we're going to start you off with a dice tray and we're going to add more stuff. Now over here, it doesn't specifically say that. So my assumption is that what you're seeing on the screen is all in that Kickstarter exclusive fan pack. That said, I don't know that for certain because they didn't say that for certain. They implied it. I went through literally every single comment and I went through every single update. I could not find a certain, and of course the FAQ, I could not find a certain guaranteed statement that what we're seeing here are the contents of that pack, but I am assuming they are. And this is important because you're going to get extra characters, extra maps, extra characters, the Spot UV if you care, the extra characters, extra maps, which means basically they're giving you a game that has a price tag that will be roughly equitable to retail, But of course, you can get it cheap without free shipping. You can wait down the road. You can see whatever. But they are charging shipping. So if we scroll down, you can see shipping is being charged at... Oh, also you can buy extra miniatures, by the way. If you want extra miniatures, you can buy that as well. Shipping is being charged at $12 to $20. That's just for US, and obviously up from there. So effectively, you're paying an extra $12 compared to getting it at retail in terms of getting this, which is just, I mean, a $29 pledge off a $40 price tag plus $12 makes it $41 on a $40 price tag. Meanwhile, you can get it at Miniature Market or wherever for $28 to $30 down the road, which means you are effectively overpaying. So what are you getting in return? You're getting that extra, the extra maps, the extra characters, I think, and the dice tray. The dice tray, to be frank, looks very flimsy. Does not look like... I want a nice, like, if you look at Chai High Tea, they have that dice tray. In fact, we should probably take a look at Chai High Tea. I'll pull it up shortly. But basically, not Chai High Tea. I always say Chai High Tea. Chai Tea for Two has, like, beautiful dice trays. These dice trays looks like a cardboard thing. It's not particularly an extra as far as... It's nice. It's not nice, if you know what I mean. But you do have extra characters, extra maps, and all of that. So overall, this one falls in the category of if those extras are the thing that's included, then I think this is a reasonable back. You're not going to make money in this one. You might take a small hit, but at least it will give you extras. It's giving you a reason, an exclusive, something to actually get on this game. Moving on from there, actually not moving on from there, I want to pull up Chai. Let me just pull this up. Chai Tea. Sorry, I just want to pull up Chai Tea for Two because I want to see if they actually have this. Okay, so if we look at Chai Tea for Two, so update stretch goals, nope, there's not listed yet. So I believe, I mean, again, when you see, by the time you see this, it's probably listed, but they basically have a add-on to get more of these dice trays coming. So if you want to see over here, so these dice trays that I went on and on about in the campaign, which of course I can't scroll to, because why not? Here we go. These dice trays over here were excellent. Absolutely highly recommend them. And they had 2 different colors, but they actually have an add-on to get like 10 of them or something like that, or 12 of them, whatever it is. Whole bunch of colors and options. You could buy them individually or in a bundle pack. Make sure to check out Chai Tea for Two. I will throw a link down below. But past that and moving on. Oh wait, one more thing I want to complain about for Vengeance. Small thing. This is me being nitpicky, but I absolutely will be nitpicky about this because I don't like it. We have, will $1 pledge get me into the Pledge Manager to upgrade later? That's what it says here. It says no. In order to have access to Pledge Manager later, you need to have at least pledged for the $5 grunt tier. Okay, so you need to pay $5. $1 is not good enough. Now, I am generally fine with that concept. That's a concept I've talked about in the show before. The concept of getting backers more invested to at least give $5, because then later when you have $5 in there, you kind of want to upgrade. You don't care, but I mean you don't want to lose your $5. Versus if you only back $1, maybe you don't upgrade. It's not the biggest deal. They can have your $1. Who really cares? And so that it's giving you that idea of pushing people to give them a reason to jump in. My problem with that is I'm okay with the theory of it, but I'm not okay with it on a personal level. People can do what they want. On a personal level, I'm not okay with it when you are anyways opening up your game for anyone to back it after the Pledge Manager anyway, which means you are telling people for $1 you can't have access, for $0 you could, but $1 is not good enough, which is obviously just not true. You just go ahead and do the $0 and back it later. Now, so this obviously depends. Are they going to do that or not? Now, I can't say what they're going to do for Vengeance Roll and Fight. That's the tricky part. Maybe they won't give a Pledge Manager access to just anyone. But what I can tell you is if I go to Post-Human Saga, the last game, and my journey home, and I head on over to here, and I have not backed this game, if you head over here in incognito mode, I'm in incognito mode, which means I'm just a random person, I can jump in at the same exact prices that it was in the Kickstarter. Meaning if you're going to do that, if you're going to have that access of restricted access of $5, or else whatever, then at least make the post-Kickstarter option more expensive. Throw that $5 on there. Make it so that if you're going to tell your backers $1 is not good enough, it's not good enough for you, then don't let the general public in. Effectively, you're treating the general public with more priority than people who actually followed along with the campaign and at least backed $1. Small pet peeve. It's not a big deal. It's just a personal pet peeve. For myself, if you're going to gate it properly. Don't halfway gate it or tell people you're gating it when you're really not actually gating it. Anyways, moving on to Hoplomachus Victorum. 24 minutes. We're definitely going to not have a short video today. Hoplomachus Victorum is going to be one that I already covered in a full video covering, well, Hoplomachus Victorum, should you back it. So check out that if you want to see a full deep dive into this one. Effectively, Hoplomachus Victorum is going to be Chip Theory Games' new version of Hoplomachus, bringing you Hoplomachus remastered. Well, actually Hoplomachus Remastered is different than Hoplomachus Victorum. You can get both of them in this Kickstarter campaign. Hoplomachus is going to be their first game, their game that really made chip theory games famous. A game that has both solo. It's known mostly for the solo, although it has head-to-head, two-player, all that. I'm going to try to skip most of the stuff because I covered most of this in that other video. But effectively, Hoplomachus is going to be giving you very tense strategic gameplay in terms of managing your abilities, managing how you go through this. And Hoplomachus Victorum specifically is giving you a more fleshed out solo mode. I got a bunch of questions on my other video talking about what's the difference between Remastered and Victorum. They both have solo anyway, so just get Remastered, where you get also 2-player, 4-player, whatever it is. And I'm not searching on this because they haven't said so for sure in terms of covering what Remastered includes or doesn't include, but my impression from looking at the campaign is the solo mode of the original Hoplomachus was a lighter solo mode. It was not like a full-fledged campaign the same way Victorum seems to be giving you. Victorum seems to be giving you a campaign that you're going to go through multiple chained adventures, leveling up, getting different things, adding to your gladiators, whatever it is, different abilities, all that stuff. So it seems to be giving you a more fleshed out solo experience than the challenges or single shot adventures that Remastered might give you. Keep in mind, this is a conjecture because they have not announced what the remaster is including. I'm comparing Victorum to my original solo experiences with the original Hoplomachus. Past that, major update from my video on whenever this video went up. I don't remember when I put up my Hoplomachus Victorum video. Major update from whenever I did that. I gave them a hard time for the fact that the hero pledge, or not really the hero pledge, but I basically said that the best value is likely going to just be the Victorum option. $95, a discount of $20 off of the MSRP, and then of course you pay shipping and whatnot. Versus the hero pledge, while they're giving you a $35 discount, and I covered this in the other video. Quick notes again. MSRP with Chip Theory games is different than standard MSRP. MSRP is what they actually charge and what you actually can get it for at the best price, usually. So factor that in. Plus potential free shipping discounts or whatever it is. But MSRP here is something I actually respect the actual number a lot more. So $35 off the MSRP there, which is great. The problem is if you don't want the upgraded chips or if you don't want the chip bag, then that discount gets lowered significantly. But they do have an update. I believe it's update number 2. If we scroll down here, update number 2. So basically they added a huge hero pledge announcement where they basically added and updated that these sheets that you can write on, draw on, whatever it is you can use for your campaign progress, they're going to make them another mat. Chip Theory Games is known for their neoprene mats, their stitched edges, beautiful, as well as of course their chips. And they're making another map with pegs and whatnot that you can utilize to track your map, and it's going to be a $15 add-on, and it's free for your hero pledge, which means your hero pledge just jumped to a $50 MSRP savings, a much better deal. That $15 is not a lot, and it's not a lot, but in terms of the ratios, the percentages, all of that, it makes the hero pledge a far more enticing deal, to the point, by the way, that I was 95% sure that I was not backing this campaign because I want the stuff, but I have a lot of games. I can wait. I can just, not because it's a better deal later, just I'll hold off on the campaign. Maybe I'll get it used down the road. I'm just not in a rush. Thankfully, I have a lot of games that aren't being played. And that addition to the hero pledge, well, it may have pushed me over. Now I went from 95% sure not backing to like 80% sure I am backing. So we'll see how it actually goes. But yeah, I thought there's a reasonable announcement or update to make because I told you stuff, and that stuff has been updated since I told you stuff. So that's going to be Hoplomachus Victorum. For more details, for more information, check out my full video on it. I don't want to spend an excessive amount of time on it because I thought this video would be under 40 minutes, and it's looking like it will not be. It's okay. Most of you knew that it wouldn't actually be under 40 minutes. Moving on to Castle Panic Deluxe Edition. Castle Panic Deluxe Edition, which is the second last game, which means we have 12 minutes to cover 2 more games, but these 2 games are going to go into to a certain degree. So we'll see if I actually make it or not. Castle Panic Deluxe Edition is going to be 1,100 backers, $238,000 raised, 20 days to go on a $375 pledge. That's what it costs to get this stuff. $375 to get everything. And before you correct me, $350, I'm including the lowest shipping tier of $25 for the US. So $375 is the baseline lowest entry point that you can pay to get all in on this campaign. Now, you don't have to get all in, and you may not want to go all in, so let's go through it. Castle Panic is a game that is incredibly popular. Not greatly rated, but incredibly popular. It's a game that has, it's a great gateway game, solid, family-friendly, kid-friendly, gateway-friendly, potentially solo-friendly, whatever it is. It has a large degree of appeal. It is not the best rated game ever. It is a 6.7 on Board Game Geek, but it is bringing you solid, consistent gameplay that people generally enjoy. And they are coming back to the table with this remastered edition with new artwork, and of course miniatures and wood bits galore, which will go through all the pledge levels. They actually launched on Kickstarter, I think it was like 5-6 months ago, and they ended up canceling it because people were a little upset that they had the base game, but not the rest of the expansions. They're like, you're giving me a base game that's upgraded, but what about all the expansions? And they had a lot of feedback and pushback, and they eventually canceled it, and they came back with absolutely everything, and that's why it's $375 for absolutely everything. The gameplay of Castle Panic, before we get into the pledge levels, is basically going to be a bunch of monsters being pulled from bags, put on the various locations around this castle, and then every round you play your cards, you draw cards, you play cards, you can trade cards, and you're trying to utilize those cards to effectively take out all the baddies and stop them from advancing and hitting the castle walls. As they advance too close, they'll hit the castle walls, they'll take down your castle slowly, they'll take more damage. You got siege engines, you have cards, you have abilities, you have monsters, all these things as they're slowly progressing in terms of basically trying to take you out. So it's a survival, tower defense, not really tower defense, but castle defense, whatever you want to call it, siege defense, I don't know what the term is, but effectively having lots of stuff approaching your castle to try to take it down. That's going to be what you got over there. Let's talk pledge levels. And this thing's been around, by the way, since 2009. So that is a long time in gaming history. But anyways, we have over here castle pieces. So here we got the upgrades. We got new 3D plastic pieces for the castle, new 3D monsters with rotating bases to track their health, to track damage. We have new artwork. We have new components. These are going to be wood monsters that you can draw from the bag. A new expansion, the Crowns and Quests expansion, which has a character. You're going to choose a character and complete quests to save the castle. They haven't really announced a lot about this expansion, but there will be a new expansion into the Crowns and Quests expansion, which is in this campaign. Speaking of stuff in this campaign, if you get the all-in or whatever, you are getting most of the promos they have released to date, plus some new promos, but you're not getting every single promo that's ever been released, so factor that into your equation, as it were. Past that, we have Castle Panic Wood Edition. So the lowest price they have is the base game version of Castle Panic, deluxeified with the plastic pieces for the defense or whatnot, and then the wood pieces for the monsters. And you might be asking yourself, why? Why do they have a specific pledge level giving you half the upgraded components but not the other half? And there's going to be two reasons. One is cost savings. It allows people to save money by spending less money because they're not getting the associated miniatures. As far as why aren't other campaigns doing this, why is this campaign doing it? Because the gameplay, and it's worth noting this, by the way, because you as someone, whoever you are, you might be wanting to spend $375 to get everything for this game. And you may realize that it might not be the right fit for you depending on your gameplay priorities, because in this game, in Castle Panic, the way you would do it is, given miniatures, is you would draw the token from the bag. The tokens are all the same. They feel and look exactly the same. You draw a token from the bag, you place it on the board, and then you replace that miniature. You have to go to your pile of miniatures and proxy it in. In other words, you can't be drawing the miniatures from the bag because they have unique shapes. So you have to draw the token, the wood piece, and then proxy it in, effectively meaning that you're adding a barrier to your gameplay because of the miniatures. Of course, the miniatures will add to the immersive feel on the table. You may still want them, and that's awesome, but also factor in that you have to do that. You have to draw something random from the bag and then grab the miniature separately and put it wherever the token was or is going, or all of that. And that is why they are offering options, both base game and all in, for not having the miniatures, to save on the price for those who don't want that barrier to gameplay, even if the minis do look pretty cool. Moving on from there, $60 Castle Panic Wood Edition. Moving on, we have the Castle Panic Deluxe Plastics Only. This is not giving you the base game. This is giving you all the Deluxeified extras. If you have the original Castle Panic and you just want the extras, and you don't care about the artwork, this is giving you all of that. For $90, we have the Castle Panic Deluxe Pledge. It's going to be giving you the base game with all the extras. So if you want a deluxeified version of your Castle Panic, a game that you can generally find for $25-$30, you can spend $90 to get the deluxeified version with miniatures, with deluxeified walls, all those things in your game. For $200, you get the all-in option for the Wood Edition. So again, this is giving you all the walls, all the things that are more static, plus all the wood pieces for all of the expansions, but not giving you, well, more than that. And then then for $200, you get the Castle Panic Deluxe with Wizard's Tower and the playmat. The playmat is an optional buy you can add on to all levels. And then for $350, you get absolutely everything in one giant box with all the stuff, with the playmat, with the expansions, with the miniatures, with the giant box, all of that, and with $25 shipping at the lowest tier as your lowest option. That is a lot of Castle Panic Deluxe. A lot of stuff over there. Now, overall, it's worth noting this, by the way, because this is one of those things where, on the one hand, my instinctive approach to much of this is, do you really need a $375 version of a 6.7 game on Board Game Geek? Now, I do believe that immersion, that miniatures, that all these things, I do believe that they add to the rating of a game. The more immersed I am in a game, the better the artwork a game is, Absolutely, it adds some points to the rating. Does it make a 6.7 a 7.8? No, it makes a 6.7 a 6.9 or whatever it is. Now keep in mind, 6.7 is an aggregate rating. That said, something worth mentioning, something worth talking about is Hoplomachus, a game that I'm like, oh yeah, sure, spend $300 on that one, not a problem at all. That's a game that on Board Game Geek, there's like 4,000 people. Between all three titles, there's roughly 4,000 people who have that game marked as owned. Castle Panic has 24,000 people on Board Game Geek who marked it as owned, and I would argue that not everyone marks their games as owned, obviously, but I would argue that the amount of people who have Castle Panic that don't have it marked as owned would be a much higher percentage given the lighter accessibility. So this is a game that really has done a tremendous job at infiltrating the gaming world. Part of that's going to be the lighter nature of the game, kind of being a hybrid, a crossway, a gateway point to board gaming. Part of that's going to be Will Wheaton and his show, which I don't even know what his Castle Panic episode has, but it's probably in the range of 300,000 views. That show, Tabletop, did tremendously well. I still miss it to this day. But overall, there's a popularity behind Castle Panic that cannot be denied, and the fact that we have 1,000 people out of probably 100,000 copies out there in the wild, if not more, the fact that 1,000 of them sat there and said, yeah, it's worth $375 to me to get everything, not a surprise to me. If anything, I'm surprised the number's not higher. As far as myself, I'm interested in this one, but I never actually played or got the original Castle Panic, and I'm not going to start with the $375 version myself. But that said, for those who want it, for those who don't, yeah, I mean, this is a lot here. As far as value, holding its value, all of that, this is a hard one. This is one of those ones that's very, very hard to predict because it is a lighter game. Lighter games, practically speaking, don't do as well of a job of holding its value. The closest comparison I would have to this one is likely going to be Munchkin. The Munchkin board game by Come, which brings a lighter game and deluxified it and made it completely overproduced and overpriced. That is a game that has not held its value as much as typical Come titles normally do. That is one that, depending on the price point, when you look online, you can find it for either what people paid for it or slightly less sometimes. So it does not done as much of as well of a job of holding its value, and I think that's going to be the closest comparison here. Combine that with the price point here, which is $375 to go all in on this one. I think that it's likely going to hold most of its value. I think it's going to be similar to Munchkin Dungeon. I think it will hold most of its value. If you want to wait down the road and pick it up on the aftermarket, I'm sure you can find it for like $300 or something like that. You'll still be able to find it. It won't be new. It'll be like a year from now and you'll find it for $300. Or I could be wrong. It could be that it'll go I don't think it's going to be half the price. It could be that it'll be much cheaper. It could be that it'll hold its value completely. But I would wager that the closest comparison on the market is likely going to be Munchkin Dungeon. And that one is, again, mostly held its value while not completely holding its value. Also, one thing worth mentioning that's a bit of a difference here is they did say that everything in this game is going to be available. Where do we have it? It's listed somewhere here. They said somewhere that it's only, I can't find exactly where it was, but they effectively said that the game is exclusive to a degree, meaning it's either Kickstarter or directly from them at a higher price. They did not say what the higher price is, but that is the other factor that could potentially limit the upper end of how much this holds its value, because if you can buy this online for $400, let's just make up a number, then there's no way you're spending more than $400 to buy someone else's copy used, right? Seems like a fair comparison, unless, of course, it's out of stock. So yeah, overall, definitely a bit of a uncertainness around this one, but I think that it is likely in that mostly holding its value, yet not completely zone. 37 minutes, guys. 37 minutes. I'm definitely not hitting this last one, because in the next 3 minutes, I have to cover Mosaic, A Story of Civilization. And I'm not going to try to cover it in 3 minutes, because that would not be fair to myself. It would not be fair to them. It would not be fair to you, because I would have to talk incredibly fast. If you think this is fast, watch me try to cover Mosaic in 3 minutes. So I'm not going to do it. In fact, I'm going to breathe a little bit. Forgot my cup of water because I thought this would be a 40-minute video tops. Anyways, Mosaic, A Story of Civilization by Glenn Drover and Forbidden Games. Forbidden Games, the company that brought you Lizard Wizard, Raccoon Tycoon, some other games. I can't remember. What's the other games? They have more games. They have Railroad Rivals, Extraordinary Adventures. I think Raccoon Tycoon and Lizard Wizard are going to be the most popular games. And then Railroad Rivals is likely a second from there, or a third, or whatever you want to call it. But effectively, Mosaic, A Story of Civilization is going to be branching out from their normal fare. This is going to be bringing you a midweight to heavier game. Lizard Wizard was midweight, to be fair. It was a heavier version of Raccoon Tycoon, for whatever that's worth. But Mosaic, I think, is upping the ante even further. It's bringing you a heavy civilization game, medium heavy. A medium-heavy civilization game, playable in 2 hours, playable up to 6 players, although in general with these games, I can't speak for this one, in general these games are not as good with 6. I usually would recommend 4 max for these games, but I mean, that's not true, maybe even 5, I don't know, I haven't played the game, you should ignore me here, but just I do find 6 is a harder player count to to give this experience. In any case, again, ignore my opinions on a game I haven't played. A game from Glendrover, Age of Empires. By the way, Age of Empires is one of the best games. Railways of the World. Oh, so we got another double hitter today. We have Railways of the World. He's involved in that one too. Oh, that's what it was. It was Martin Wallace and Glendrover. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I forgot that. Wow. So Glendrover, Raccoon Tycoon, Lizard Wizard, Age of Empires, Railways of the World. Mosaic is going to be a civilization game giving you a bunch of actions, 8 actions you can take on your turn. Those actions, let's see if we can find it. Tons of cards, of tokens, abilities, all these things I'm scrolling through. You can check them all out. There's tons of stuff for this game. Deluxeifications, which I'm trying to find out how to play the game. They're failing Jeremy Howard's 3 scroll test because I can't even figure out how to play. Here we go. How to play. So, you have 8 different actions you can take on your turn. You can learn a new technology, you can build a city, town, or project, you can recruit or move military units, you can increase your civilization's population, you can produce resources, you can tax and tariff, you can create a wonder, or you could form a government if you have the right symbols or whatnot. It is a civilization game into the nth degree. It has an aspect. I saw 2 comparisons to Terraforming Mars from this game. I saw Jeremy Howard saying, go all in on this game. I absolutely recommend it. I can't remember his exact quote. I should probably find it. But Jeremy Howard highly recommending the game. Something he doesn't recommend. He doesn't like. He likes a lot of games, but he doesn't tell you to like go all in. Don't miss this one. He feels that way about this game. Ryan Schoon from Mind of Meeple telling you it's a great game, it's an incredible game. Yes, we are paid to take money to talk about the game, but I absolutely was interested in this game before, and I'm highly recommending this game. Lots of positive feedback around the game. Watch Sarah Shaw. Sarah Shaw has a 1-minute video somewhere if I can find the videos. I went past the videos. Sarah Shaw has a 1-minute video. I'm too far. Here we go. Somewhere in this range are going to be the videos. So she has a 1-minute overview of the game, covering those 8 actions, covering a civilization game in 1 minute. The game looks gorgeous. The art looks gorgeous. Everything about the game looks intriguing. This is one I've been looking forward to a while. The Kickstarter was pushed off, and then I missed that. And then it's just, yeah, it looks intriguing. And the comparisons to Terraforming Mars, by the way, if you want to sell me on a game, all you need to do is say, it feels like Terraforming Mars, because that's one of my favorite games of all time. It doesn't matter how wrong you are, I'm already interested in the game. And this game is going to be bringing you 2 main pledge levels, a $79 pledge level, bringing you the Kickstarter version of the game and all applicable daily unlocks, and then a $149 pledge level, which is effectively a discounted version of all the optional buys. And so let's cover what those optional buys are, because they're going to be very relevant as we talk about the should you back it, all of that stuff. And so, am I going too far again? I just can't track this stuff. So we have the optional buys over here. The add-on set 1, $29 for add-on set 1 is going to be all these metal coins, 30 of each, and they're going to have all these 30 resources, tons of wooden tokens. In general, by the way, Forbidden Games in general does a great job of giving you a lot of different components. I mean, you guys, $29 for 90 metal coins plus these wooden resources, that is a solid deal in and of its own right. Okay, just saying that. That's a solid deal. $29 usually gets you like 60 metal coins. Forget everything else you are getting here. This is similar to the deal they gave us on Lizard Wizard when they did the same thing. And we have the add-on set 2. For $10, you have plastic miniatures representing the 9 wonders. For $29, you get the add-on set 3. Plastic miniatures for 150 different cities, towns, and ports, 25 in each of the 6 colors for each of the 6 players. And then $29 for the add-on set 4, 192 plastic miniatures and worker miniatures for all the game. That is why you have this $149 price tag on this game, because it's giving you, I think it was $89 if I'm not mistaken. Let's see, $29 is going to be $90, $87 plus 10. So $97 worth of extras for $70 is what for an extra $70 add-on. So they're giving you effectively one of these for free if you buy all of them. Which means if you're getting any of these, you already have to question just how much you want the rest, and are you willing to go all in on this game. That is going to be overall what this game is. It is a general, and then they have, of course, all their stuff that you can buy in the Pledge Manager as well. Now, if you are a backer of Lizard Wizard, you should be paying 100% attention right now, because if you are a backer of Lizard Wizard, you are getting 10% off this game, which means your $150 price tag just dropped to $135. That is a great discount. So if you back Lizard Wizard, which I did, by the way, go you, because that's awesome, because you will get a discount on this game, which is, money saved. So that's fun. So overall, and this is, by the way, this is true. This is something to be taken into account in general on this game as well. In general, Forbidden Games has given discounts to prior backers for their next game. I'm not saying it's across the board, I'm not saying it's a guarantee, but in general it's something they have done. They generally do believe in that loyalty aspect, and they reward prior backers and keep them invested in continuing to back their products, because you get a discount on the next product. So your $150 price point here might save you another $10, $15 in the next campaign as well. So they're paying it forward effectively. They're constantly paying it forward. Past that, I need water. Past that, effectively we have over here, we have these coins, we have the miniatures, we have all of that. Now the coins, I assume they'll be high quality. They have Raccoon Tycoon to compare them to. Miniatures is a harder bet. The sculpts look good, not great. So, and also the size of the sculpt and the mount. The sheer quantity of miniatures, 192 miniatures for a $29 price point, makes me think that the miniatures are not going to be that great. So do not expect command level miniatures here. Expect something like, I don't know, Kemet or Cyclades or any of those games that give you miniatures, but not the same degree or quality you will get in a miniatures game from Command, from Mythic, from whomever. So don't walk in expecting that. These pieces over here, again, if you look at the videos of the prototypes look fairly good. The final production game could be better or worse than the prototypes. They do not necessarily have to be better. They could well be worse. Factor that into your decision here. Keep in mind, all the people who back Terraforming Mars who are starting to complain about the renders versus what they got, that is a price you have to pay on Kickstarter. Renders are renders. Understand that you can never guarantee what you're getting until it actually shows up at your door. As far as should you back it, should you not? So let's cover this from two sides, or three sides really. I'm going to cover this from three sides. To begin with, I think this will mostly hold its value. In general, Forbidden Games, their games in general, they usually have two types. They have the Kickstarter version of the game, and then they have the retail version that pops up. Now, if you look at the FAQ, they said we don't necessarily have plans for retail, but if we... Let me actually read it themselves. Let me just read it directly. So, will this game be in retail? Historically in the past, when demand warrants, we have made retail versions of our games. So they're not saying it is going to be in retail. They're saying if there's demand for it, they'll make a retail version of the game. And based on the feedback we're seeing so far, I assume there will be demand for this game. What does a retail version of the game look like? I don't know. I don't have that information. They haven't specified that information. If you compare their other games, you can always find, Lizard Wizard, Raccoon Tycoon, you can find their games cheaper for the retail version of the game than the Kickstarter version of the game. Absolutely. Their Kickstarter versions of their games generally do a better job holding their value, yet not amazingly so. If you look for copies of, well, Lizard Wizard I can't comment on yet because it's not out yet, but if you look for Raccoon Tycoon, in general you can find it on the secondhand market for less than what people paid for it, but mostly holding its value. Not a ton, but mostly holding its value. I think Mosaic, as a heavier game, is more likely to hold its value better than those other titles have, especially with the feedback we're seeing so far. So if I had to hazard a guess on this one, I would say this will likely hold its value, if not more. I could be wrong, but I think it will, especially if you go all in on that $150 pledge level where you're getting all those extras. That is a lot of stuff for this game. So as far as holding its value, not a certainty at all, but I believe it will hold its value in the secondhand market. Approach number 2. It's $150 for a Civilization game. Do you know what? I'm plus shipping, by the way. $12 shipping at the lowest end. So $162 for a Civilization game. I'm going to go ahead and show you my cart here. This is my cart at Miniature Market. Okay, I have Terraforming Mars with the Prelude expansion, because you should not get Terraforming Mars without Prelude. Then I have Through the Ages. Then I have Concordia, all for $167. Now, I think they will add taxes in the cart, so technically it's going to be a little more than that. But this is what you can get instead of Mosaic. Meaning when you spend $162 on a single board game, understand that hold its value or not, there is a lot of other stuff you can get instead of that. The flip side is that if you want to get Mosaic without spending $162, you can get the $79 version of the game, which is much, much cheaper. So you don't have to go all in. If you want to go all in, it's because you're getting all the extras. It will probably hold its value, but you don't have to go all in either. You can get this game for $79, at which point it's closer to Brass. Brass coming in at $63, so it's a closer comparison there. Brass is still cheaper. Brass, by the way, number 3 game of all time, so I do recommend that one as well. But overall, yes, I think this game will hold its value. I think it is on the one hand expensive. I think on the other hand, it is giving you a ton of stuff. It is a deluxeified extras version of that game. By the way, completely unrelated, but I remember this. Over here we have the extra large box and the extra large box to fit all the stuff over there. I'm looking at this and I'm like, I was just thinking in my head, like, will it Calyx? And if you ever watch Rhett and Link in the Morning, I think that you should, or it's the Good Mythical Morning, so Rhett and Link, I think they should have an episode, if anyone knows them, reach out to them. They should have an episode called Will It Calyx, where they shove things into Calyx cubes and see if it fits, because I think that would be a hysterical episode if you like board games and Rhett and Link. So that Venn diagram of crossover over there. But that's basically it. Past that, we have the updates they've announced so far for the daily modes. For the daily unlocks, we have the 6-player upgrade, we have the solo mode, we have the weekday 2.5, this more base efficient player board design. Basically, the player boards they had in the prototypes were much larger than people wanted, and so they are making it much smaller, more efficient, not as much table space. Then we have the extra large box, the 4th player marker, and we have how many days left? 20 days left? Something more than that? 25 days left with daily unlocks. Keep your eyes peeled. I, of course, will cover this in various updates as we get more and more unlocks, but I think this one will hold its value. I am likely back in this one. The 10% discount makes it even easier for me to decide that, so that's going to be a benefit from backing their games on a regular basis. And that, I think, is absolutely everything. 49 minutes. So much for keeping this one short. Until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co., and have a good one. I legit thought this would be a short video. I don't know what to tell you. I totally thought this would be a shorter video. I was all prepped. I'm going to have to go apologize to my wife because I told her, and we have this gauge of however long I think a video is, I should tell her how long I think the max is. I told her I think it's going to be a 30 minute video, budget 45 minutes for the worst case scenario, and we're at 50 minutes. So that didn't happen. Past that, I hope you're enjoying your week or not. Again, I'm offline Monday, Tuesday, all of that. If you are a Patreon backer, there's still going to be, of course, a Patreon video version of this to back or not to back, where I go through all the games I just did in hopefully 5 minutes. We'll see. That's a lie, probably. And tell you all the reasons you shouldn't back them, being harsher and more critical and more aggressive. That's going to be a Patreon thing. Specifically, I cover this in the post-credit scene of the last 2 weeks or whatnot, so you can check that out. Past that, we just started the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I will say overall, really enjoyed that. Really enjoyed the first 2 episodes. We need to dive into it further. We watched WandaVision a while ago. We finished it. We are waiting to watch Falcon and Winter Soldier with somebody else, but that's not happening. So we're watching it ourselves because we want to be sure that we're finished with that by the time Loki shows up. Marvel is killing it. Movies, TV, they're just absolutely killing it. In any case, no spoilers for Falcon and Winter Soldier because we are only 2 episodes in. Until next time, have a good one.